We're going to be in Genesis chapter 42. 8 more chapters to go.
Wow. Can you believe it?
But let's go ahead and pray, open in a word of prayer, and kick the
7:01, people just sitting here watching.
And kick the flesh out and such. Lord Jesus, we just surrender to you.
Woo!
Just yield ourselves to the Holy Spirit of God. And we pray, Lord, that you would have your way in this Bible study. Guide us and direct us in everything we say and do. And bring things to memory, bring things to mind. Cause us all to just love this book. And the Savior who gave it to us, and the Holy Spirit who interprets it and guides us. And we love you a lot, God. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right, we're going to actually read kind of as a preamble. I'm going to go back to Genesis 37 because it's going to have something to do with it. So if you remember in Genesis 37, this is when Joseph was actually sold into slavery. And let me just read here for a couple seconds. Genesis chapter 37. I'm going to start at verse 14. And it says, this is Jacob talking to Joseph. And he said to him, Go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren, and well with the flocks, and bring me word again. Mm-hmm. So he sent him out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem. Mm-hmm. And a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, What seekest thou? And he said, I seek my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, They are departed hence, for I heard them say, Let us go to Dothan. And Joseph went out after his brethren, and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. Because remember, he was the dreamer.
Yes.
And they said one to another, Behold, this dreamer cometh. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, and cast him into some pit. And we will say, Some evil beast hath devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands, and said, Let us not kill him. And Reuben said unto them, Shed no blood, but cast him into this pit that is in the wilderness, and lay no hand upon him, that he might rid him out of their hands, to deliver him to his father again. And it came to pass, when Joseph was come unto his brethren, that they stripped Joseph out of his coat of many colors that was on him, and they took him and cast him into a pit. And the pit was empty, there was no water in it. And they sat down to eat bread, and they lifted up their eyes and looked, and behold, a company of Ishmaelites came from Gilead with their camels, bearing spicery and balm and myrrh, going to carry it down to Egypt. And Judah said unto his brethren, What profit is it if we slay our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him, for he is our brother and our flesh. And his brethren were content. Then there passed by Midianites, merchantmen, and they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the pit, and they sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver, and they brought Joseph into Egypt. And Reuben returned unto the pit, and behold, Joseph was not in the pit, and he rent his clothes. And he returned unto his brethren, and said, The child is not, and I, whither shall I go? And they took Joseph's coat, and killed a kid of the goats, and dipped the coat in the blood. And they sent the coat of many colors, and they brought it to their father, and said, This have we found. Know now whether it be thy son's coat or no. And he knew it, and said, It is my son's coat. An evil beast hath devoured him. Joseph is without doubt rent in pieces. And Jacob rent his clothes, and put sackcloth upon his loins, and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. He refused to be comforted. And he said, For I will go down into the grave unto my son mourning. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard.
That was chapter 37.
That was chapter 37.
We're not in chapter 37.
We're not there, but I need
for those that are joining late.
For those of us who are joining late. If you remember, right before chapter 37 was chapter 35. 36 was a parenthesis.
Right.
And in chapter 35
was all of them.
Jacob had left Padanaram. Let me back up. Chapter 33 33, Jacob had left Padanaram, and as he was traveling in chapter 34, he came to Shechem,
Yeah.
and his daughter Dinah was raped.
And they killed a bunch of people.
And Simeon and Levi killed the entire village.
Yeah.
So God says, you know what, probably better to leave Shechem. I will need you to head down to Bethel, and as they're heading down, Deborah dies.
Yeah.
And then Rachel dies as Benjamin is being born.
Yes.
And then in chapter 37, Joseph dies.
In a sense, yeah.
In a sense, for as far as Jacob was concerned, his daughter had been raped, his wife died, and his eldest son died. All within the space of like a year and a half or 2 years.
It's been rough.
It was a really rough time. Now, the reason we're reading that before we get to chapter 42 is because we're going to finally see Jacob again. We have not talked to Jacob or heard from Jacob till the end of since the end of chapter 37, 136 verses ago.
30 years plus, right?
It's been a long time.
30 years.
It was no, because Joseph was 17. Add 13, and then add another 7, and then add 1. So it's 21 to 22 years.
Okay.
All right. So it's been a long time, though. All right. But I needed you to get that in your head because it's going to come into play in this chapter an awful lot. So, and even before we start reading,
Uh-oh.
because we're going to read the whole chapter again.
Okay.
All right. And it's important. There are 4 themes.
4 themes.
4 themes.
Topics.
Topics.
Things you keep seeing.
The first one is the awakened conscience, because these guys sold their brother into Egypt, and now they're going into Egypt, and it starts pricking at them.
Oh, the whole way down.
The whole way down.
Can you imagine the trip? Oh, we're going to Egypt. I wonder if we're going to see.
I don't think they would even...
They didn't even think about it.
No, they thought he was long dead.
Long gone.
Long dead. They haven't seen him in 21, 22 years.
Yeah. But still, the conscience would definitely be...
It's pricked. It's pricked, and we're going to see it.
Throw a couple dreams in there.
Oh, yeah, God will mess with
God
it.
could have talked to him a little
my
bit.
God. See a coat of many colors in the square. Oh, yeah.
Everywhere they looked, they could have seen him. Yeah.
Oh, just horrible.
All that kind of stuff could have happened.
Fear. I mean, I'm going to point this out as we read through. Just the amount of fear in this chapter.
Of his brothers.
No, fear for everybody.
Oh,
everybody in this whole chapter except for Joseph has fear.
Oh.
It's really crazy. And then the one that God showed me, and this is what opened up these other ones, was I was sitting in church, and he pointed out that the overall underlying theme in just about like every other verse is death.
Really?
Really, yeah. This is the cool point for me for the chapter. And plus, they're going down to get food in Egypt, so that's a theme as well. All right. So
sounds like it's going to be a scary, cool chapter.
It is Halloween.
It is.
All right.
Halloween.
So,
but it was our birthday.
So as we're reading this, oh, here I brought this for no reason. Death.
You wrote death.
I wrote death.
Good job.
All right. Chapter 42, and I'm going to read the whole thing. It's only 38 verses.
Okay.
Okay. Now when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, Why do you look one upon another? And he said, Behold, I have heard that there's corn in Egypt. Get you down thither and buy for us from thence, that we may live and not die.
We don't want to die.
That's a fear.
That's a huge
You catch
fear.
that fear?
Fear of death.
Fear.
Starving.
And Joseph's 10 brethren went down to buy corn in Egypt. Took about a week or so to get there. But Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob sent not with his brethren, for he said, Lest peradventure mischief befall him.
Yeah, he's thinking that he's going to die like Joseph.
And the sons of Israel came to buy corn among those that came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. And Joseph was the governor over the land, and he it was that sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the ground. To the earth. And Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, and he's actually speaking Egyptian, because he's speaking through an interpreter.
Yeah.
Whence come ye? And they said, From the land of Canaan, to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them, and said unto them, Ye are spies, to see the nakedness of the land ye are come. And they said unto him, Nay, my lord, but to buy food are thy servants come. We are all one man's sons, we are true men, thy servants are no spies. And he said unto them, Nay, but to see the nakedness of the land ye are come.
Oh boy.
And they said, Thy servants are 12 brethren. It just starts spilling their guts. The sons of one man in the land of Canaan, and behold, the youngest is this day with our father, and one is not.
Woohoo.
They said that to his face.
After 22 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And Joseph said unto them, That is it that I spake unto you, saying, Ye are spies. Hereby ye shall be proved by the life of Pharaoh. Ye shall not go forth hence, except your youngest brother come hither.
Ouch.
Send one of you, and let him fetch your brother, and ye shall be kept in prison, that your words may be proved, whether there be any truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh, surely ye are spies. And he put them all together into ward 3 days, and Joseph said unto them the third day, This do and live. Notice the threat of death, to be capital punishment for being spies. For I fear God. If ye be true men, let one of your brethren be bound in the house of your prison. Go ye, carry corn for the famine of your houses, but bring your youngest brother unto me. So shall your words be verified, and ye shall not die. And they did so. And they said one to another, We are verily guilty concerning our brother, and that we saw the anguish of his soul when he besought us, and we would not hear. Therefore is this distress come upon us.
22 years later.
That's a guilty conscience.
Ooh,
you know, you spend a little time in prison in Egypt, and it starts to eat at you, you know.
Oh, it's been eating him alive for a while now.
A couple decades.
Yeah.
And Reuben answered them, saying, Spake I not unto you, saying, Do not sin against the child, and you would not hear. Therefore, behold, also his blood is required. There's a lot of fear in that.
Yeah.
And they knew not that Joseph understood them, for he spake unto them by an interpreter. And he turned himself about from them and wept, and returned to them again, and communed with them, and took from them Simeon, and bound him before their eyes.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Simeon peed himself.
Oh my.
Then Joseph commanded to fill their sacks with corn, and to restore every man's money into his sack, and to give them provision for the way. And thus did he unto them. And they laded their asses with the corn, and departed thence. And as one of them opened his sack to give his ass provender in the inn, he espied his money. For behold, it was in his sack's mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And he said unto his brethren, My money is restored.
Uh-oh.
And lo, it is even in my sack.
Uh-oh.
And their heart failed them. And they were afraid, saying one to another, What is this that God hath done unto us? And they came unto Jacob their father unto the land of Canaan, and told him all that befell unto them, saying, The man who is the Lord of the land spake roughly to us, and took us for spies of the country. And we said unto him, We're true men, we're no spies. We be 12 brethren, sons of our father. One is not, and the youngest is this day with our father in the land of Canaan. And the man, the Lord of the country, said unto us, Hereby shall I know that you're true men. Leave one of your brethren here with me, and take food for the famine of your households, and be gone. And bring your youngest brother unto me. Then shall I know that ye are no spies, but that ye are true men. So will I deliver you your brother, and ye shall traffic in the land. And it came to pass, as they emptied their sacks, that behold, every man's bundle of money was in his sack.
Oh boy.
And when both they and their father saw the bundles of money, they were afraid. Lots afraid. And Jacob their father said unto them, Me have ye bereaved of my children.
Bereavement.
Joseph is not. Simeon is not, and ye will take Benjamin away. All these things are against me. And Reuben spake unto his father, saying, Slay my 2 sons, if I bring him not to thee. Deliver him into my hand, and I will bring him to thee again. And he said, My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is left alone. If mischief befall him by the way in which ye go, then shall ye bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave. Do you get the point? This whole thing about
humanity.
It is humanity.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
A lot of
now, I before we get there,
okay.
Eventually, they're going to go down into Egypt. We all know the story. If you don't know the story,
you can read ahead.
You can read ahead. Eventually, they find out, and Joseph.
Well, they get really hungry,
and Jacob and everybody, they go down into Egypt because Joseph calls them. And in chapter 46, it says, verse 1, it says, and Israel took his journey with all that he had. Israel took his journey with all that he had. But now we're going to actually look at the chapter. Look,
Jacob.
42:1. Now when Jacob saw that there was corn in Egypt, Jacob said unto his sons, Jacob is living, he was broken. The rape of his daughter, the death of his beloved wife that he worked 14 years for, the death of Joseph, his favorite son, the death of his nurse, Deborah, who was there when he was growing up,
mm-hmm.
and then the death of Isaac, his dad. He buried his dad in between now, too.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things you also don't realize, and we're going to get to it in a little bit, no, I can do it right now, is the death of Leah has occurred already as well. He has been promised by God everything.
Amazing blessings.
And he's literally watched every single person that he loves died. Bilhah and Zilpah are nowhere to be seen. They're never mentioned again. They're not in the list of people who go down into Egypt. Neither's Leah. He says later on in like Genesis 46 or 49, wow. He says, I buried Leah in Canaan. So wow. He's literally he's
a man alone.
He's broken, he's bitter, and he has no faith. And now there's a famine on the land, and he looks at his 10 sons who are standing around looking at each other, picking their noses.
And the famine is slowly taking all of the blessings that God has given him through the years.
So much. So if you remember from last week, the double whammy. The Nile flood is not going to happen for 7 years, and they're going to get the east wind coming up from Arabia. That east wind is not just going to hit the Nile. Look up here. It's also going to hit Canaan. And so Canaan is also undergoing famine. And so the people of Canaan and all the areas around here are coming into Egypt because they've heard that there was food there.
Right.
So he says, why do you look one upon another? And he said, behold, I've heard that there's corn in Egypt. Get you down thither and buy for us from thence that we may live and not die. And I had this thought. These guys have raised their cattle and raised their own crops for as long as they have ever lived.
Self-sufficient.
They've never bought food. It was so outside their box.
It didn't occur to them.
It didn't occur to them. They're like, what do we do?
What do we do?
And he's like, go buy food.
What's that?
What? This never occurred to him.
Yeah.
Never occurred to him.
That's a good thought.
Yeah. So I wanted to go this. I like to cover ages.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph became the leader of Egypt when he was 30. 7 years of plenty, plus probably at this point maybe 1 year, not quite 2 yet.
Right.
Years of famine, so he's probably 38. He was born when Jacob was 91, so Jacob is 91 plus 38. He's 129.
Getting up there.
Reuben is about 2 years old, or 6 years older, so he's about 44. Simeon, a year younger than Reuben, is about 43. Benjamin is about 17 years old. No. I'm sorry.
40.
He's 13 years younger. So I just wrote that number down, but he's about 25.
Oh.
Rachel's dead, Leah's dead, and we don't know where Bilhah and Zilpah have gone. And Yeah, it's already been quite a study, huh?
Yeah. There's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we already covered
that.
Remember that? All right. This is kind of neat. So the word here used for corn, if you remember in the last chapter when we were looking at the word corn, we said shibboleth.
Shibboleth.
Or sibboleth.
We did.
You couldn't say it one way or the
Shibboleth.
other. And shibble means the ear of the corn. Here, in this chapter, the word for corn is sheber, I guess, sheber, which is, it's not quite flour, but it's cracked corn. It's broken off of the ear, and it comes from the word for broken or destroyed, so it's broken at the mill. I was thinking Jimmy cracked corn, and I don't care. So it's just like cracked corn. It's getting ready for the preparation of the flour. And I was thinking, you know what? This would be very smart of Joseph, that as he's bringing in the corn, remember it's ears of corn, you want to get it off the husk because the husk takes up a lot of room in the storage.
You don't have room for that,
So
John.
get rid of the husk because you only have limited. You're going to be saving up as much corn as you can for 7 years. You're going to run out of containers. So you're going to want to take that corn off the husk, when it's dry, and you're going to want to crack it up so that it takes up as less space as you can.
Yeah.
I thought that was really smart of him. All right. And
if that's what he did, absolutely.
that's what the words seem to do.
That's what.
That's
He's at least selling it cracked.
He is definitely selling it. They're going down to Egypt to buy crack.
Cracked corn.
That is cracked corn.
corn.
Jimmy cracked corn. So who's going? Who are these 10 brethren? It's Reuben and Simeon, Levi and Judah, Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher, Issachar and Zebulun.
Right.
All right. And Joseph's 10 brethren, verse 3, went down to buy corn in Egypt. But Benjamin's Joseph's brother, specifically, because that's his full brother. Everybody else is a half-brother.
Yeah, born of Rachel.
Born of Rachel, the only two. Jacob sent not with his brethren, for he said, lest peradventure mischief befall him. And the sons of Israel took about a week, about 250 miles, came to buy corn among those that came, for the famine was in the land of Canaan.
Basically, they just joined the caravan because there's just a non-stop train of people going to Egypt.
Non-stop.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to read this, but I'm going to have to back up again. And Joseph was the governor over the land, and he it was that sold to all the people of the land. Joseph was not the only guy.
He delegated.
He delegated, so he had officers. So how did his brethren happen to come before him? So here is what one guy said, and I thought it made a lot of sense. With so many people coming into Egypt, there was a tremendous risk of the surrounding nations coming in as spies to spy out to see if they could, how strong were the defenses of Egypt.
Go steal that food. We don't want to pay for it.
Yeah, can we take it?
Can we just take it?
Can we take it?
Mm-hmm.
And so there was probably a delegated thought that went like this. If you see anybody who looks strange, I want to talk to him.
Oh, yeah, probably was.
And
standing orders.
Standing orders. I want to talk to anybody who's a large group.
Yeah.
10 guys with servants. Because if it was just 10 guys in the ass that they rode on, they wouldn't be enough. They couldn't carry enough food to take care of their families. Remember how large the family is with all the servants.
They had to bring donkeys and wagons and everything.
They probably brought everything
they were going to buy out Walmart when they got there.
They were
because they're taking it back. It has to last a while.
They have money. Yeah, they don't. They've got. They're thinking a year's worth of food for 100 people or 50 people or whatever.
Right.
So and so there's probably standing orders if you have any large groups.
Yeah.
To come in.
And their servants are probably armed. There's swords everywhere.
Because we know how Abraham is.
We know how Abraham... And, again, it's a long trip. So you would have armed guards with you.
You sure would. Especially for on the way back because you're going to be loaded with grain.
It's like... You're carrying gold and silver going down. I would be protected
in
both directions.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So that is probably how come they got in front of Joseph. Was because somebody who was lower down said, I got a group... Mm-hmm. Not really sure about them. Let's bring them in.
Yeah.
This also is why Joseph is thinking spies, because that's what he's looking for. Mm-hmm. He's looking for spies.
Yeah.
So Joseph was the governor, which means the word is sultan.
Oh, he's the sultan.
He's the sultan.
I like that.
They actually, it's a word. It starts with S. It's like Salathia or whatever, but it's the word that sultan comes from.
I like it.
And they come down before the sultan, before governor here, and he it was that sold to all the people of the land. It says, and Joseph's brethren came and bowed down themselves before him with their faces to the earth. And of course, that fulfills the dream.
Number one.
Dream number one of the dreams that got him killed back in chapter 37, where he says in verse 5, and Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose, and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaves stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf. So they stand around like servants in the court, and they come and worship him. And it says, now here they are, bowing down themselves with their faces to the earth.
And inside his head he went, check.
That was a freaky moment.
It was a freaky moment because, okay, so I had one dream that I know of that was like prophetic. It was about when I got a promotion. I knew 2 weeks in advance. And I've shared this with the RU folks, I completely lived it. And when it happened in real life about 2 weeks later, it didn't click until we got through the whole thing, and then it was boom. And I think that whenever he saw them, that's when you had that boom.
Yeah,
and he was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's my dream happening.
That is my dream.
What is God doing? Where are you going?
I was going to read Acts 7, just 8, 9, and 10.
Okay.
It says, talk about God, it says, and God gave him the covenant of circumcision. And so Abraham begat Isaac and circumcised him the 8th day. And Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat the 12 patriarchs, including Joseph.
Yeah.
And the patriarchs, these 10 boys here we're looking at, moved with envy because of the dreams, sold Joseph into Egypt, but God was with him, and delivered him out of all his afflictions, and gave him favor and wisdom in the sight of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he made him governor over Egypt and all his house. And there came a dearth over all the land of Egypt and Canaan, and great affliction, and our fathers found no sustenance. But when Jacob heard that there was corn in Egypt, he sent out our fathers first. And it goes on, and it's retold in Acts chapter 7.
It's funny because, the patriarchs, it's these fellas. I mean, talk about feet of clay. It's kind of like whenever we talk about the apostles of Jesus Christ, and then you think it's Peter.
Yeah, it's Peter. We've got Reuben, who slept with his stepmom, Bilhah. Simeon and Levi, who killed a whole village. Judah, he's
okay.
He's okay, but he's kind of wimpy. And then the rest of them, they were all involved in the selling of Joseph to Egypt, including Judah.
Yeah, splitting up the cash.
Yeah, so those are the ones who went down into Egypt. Now, it says here that, and Joseph saw his brethren, and he knew them, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them, and said unto them, Whence come ye?
Yeah.
And they said, From the land of Canaan to buy food. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him. And the word know, which is really cool, is this word. It's nechar.
Okay.
And it's the little seed that means continuing. It's mustache man, which is actually the palm for holding something in your head. So to know something is to continue to hold it in your head.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
It's like a memory.
So
I remember you.
So this is how the early Hebrew letters were first written, and this is what they were writing. And so they said, "Hey, I'm holding something in my head
about you.
I recognize you." And what's interesting, I thought, was it says, "And Joseph nachard his brethren, but they nachard him not." just a lot of Nahars going on. There was like 4 of them.
They didn't recognize him.
They didn't recognize him.
Right.
All right. Nobody cares.
I do.
You care?
I do.
All right.
I won't remember tomorrow, but I remember.
So one of the things that, and I'll ask you this, what your thought is. And and Joseph saw his brethren, he knew them not, and he revealed himself to them, and they hugged and kissed.
Thank you.
And they hugged and kissed.
This is my struggle every time I watch this, is why didn't... Well, and I'll tell you why. Because he
wants to see what they are. Are they the same men toward him as they were before?
Well, he's dead to them. He's already gone through the mourning process. He's already kind of like, but he's also suspicious. He doesn't know these. He doesn't know what they're made of.
No.
So he wants to see. And I think we would all kind of do that. It looks strategic when you go through the chapter, but I don't know that it was so much strategic as just kind of playing it safe a little bit. And he's being directed by God.
Now I'm going to throw out a kind of an interesting thought too. So everything that Joseph said, it works really good at proving them, and it's going to reveal to them, and just everything. It's all really good. But you've got to remember too, I would think that like Joseph as a foreigner, who's in charge of everything. So he's a foreigner. He's a Hebrew. Don't tell anybody, because the Egyptians don't like Hebrews. They're abomination, actually.
They don't know that it's a Hebrew that's in charge.
They really don't. But he is foreignerish, because he's got an accent and stuff.
There was some stuff that happened behind closed doors, and they were like, "This guy speaks really good Egyptian. I think he can pull it off."
Yeah, I think.
Plus, Pharaoh put the blessing on him and all that, but
he's married into the priestly.
But you also know he's playing the part.
Yeah,
he's not walking around like some people would be. I'm a Hebrew number 2 in the whole. No, he's.
So let's put ourselves
smart.
Let's put ourselves in the mind of one of the court people, because there's court people. There's an interpreter here. There's court people around here, and here's what they see. They see 10 rough-looking guys come in, and he says, "No, you're spies. No, we're true men. You're spies. No, we're true men. We're true men. We're all brothers." That doesn't make any sense. No one's going to send all their sons. That doesn't. You're spies. You're definitely spies now. The only way you can prove it is if that younger son comes, and there are actually 12 of you.
Checking your story.
And I'm going to throw you in prison until we can get to the end of this. It makes sense to those who are around him in the court.
That's true.
Isn't that a cool idea?
Yeah. Plus, if everybody's thinking they're spies, and then all of a sudden he just goes, "My brethren!"
Oh, it would be so weird.
Somebody could be sitting there waiting for a time to overthrow Joseph, looking for a weakness, and he's the brother of the spies.
Yeah, because at this point they've already stored up all the food. It's not, they don't
need Joseph.
They just need somebody to divvy it out and break in the money. And he doesn't charge high enough prices anyway.
And he's already trained everybody how to do it.
Yeah,
he's got everything ready. Yeah. What do we need him for?
Yeah.
Well, there's all sorts of stuff going on. Yeah.
All right.
The nuances.
All right. So he goes, "Whence came ye?" And they said unto him, "From the land of Canaan, to buy food."
Duh.
And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew him not. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he dreamed of them. I love the fact it doesn't say, "and they remembered the dreams that they had dreamed of Joseph." It doesn't say that. Nowhere do they actually remember Joseph's dream. You can look through it. No. It never said. They'll keep bowing to him for the rest of the book.
And it never and he doesn't mention it. He doesn't throw it up in their face.
He never does.
Which is cool. He's an honorable guy.
All right. And said unto them, "You're spies." The word for spies is people who walk on their feet, and it's cool. The idea of just walking through the land.
Just
walking through.
Sometimes God will give you the inside scoop on something. That's not so that you can go around telling everybody that God gave you the inside scoop on something. Sometimes, like Mary, just hid those things in her heart.
That's right.
You'll read throughout Scripture when God shows you something. Sometimes you got to weigh it, but sometimes it's just it's just for you. It wasn't for everybody. Because if he goes out there and starts, hey, I had a dream. Now all the Egyptians are going to think he's a fool too.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, God shows me stuff all the time. But ye are spies to see the nakedness of the land ye are come. And that's the idea of we were talking about defenses, but also the shame. Egypt has been brought to ruins by this stuff.
Oh, it's been rough. But so is everybody else.
I like this. Going back in that early Proto-Hebrew, the word for naked is a man and an eye.
You don't say.
Because if you see him, he's naked. And the way that you make something into a noun like nakedness is to put hey in front of it, and especially with the word nakedness, because hey!
There's a naked guy.
There's a naked guy.
I get it.
Yeah. And the letters are A, R, and Va, so the word for nakedness is Arva. I love those things. I really do.
I know you do.
All right, let me skip that. Hi, everybody. All right. To see the nakedness of the land you're come, and they said, Nay, my Lord, but to buy food are thy servants come. They're just going to keep saying it, to buy food, to buy food. We are all one man's sons. We are true men. Thy servants are no spies. They're sticking by their story. And he said unto them, Nay, but to see the nakedness of the land ye are come. And they said, Thy servants are 12 brethren. And I always, you just build a
They're still including him, even though he's been gone for 20 years.
Still including him.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, well, it's the conscience thing.
It is.
So this is our conscience thing. Because they went down to Egypt, which is the Genesis 30.
It could be cultural, too.
It could be, but yeah. No, it's conscience. So they're in Egypt, then they're going to be thrown in jail for 3 days, and when they come out, they actually talk about how we are guilty.
Huh.
Yeah, so we're going to see the conscience thing. This is the first step whenever they mention him, and one is not. And Joseph said unto them, That is it that I spake unto you, saying, Ye are spies. Hereby shall ye be proved by the life of Pharaoh. Ye shall not go forth hence, except your youngest brother come hither. To swear by Pharaoh was common. No, it was actually common.
Was it?
If you look at 2 Kings 2:4, it was really common to swear by the oath of a king.
Twofer.
And it actually doesn't mean if on Pharaoh's life. It actually means Pharaoh lives, and so I'm telling you the truth, kind of a thing.
Oh, so Elijah said unto them, Elisha, tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord hath sent me to Jericho. And he said, that be Elisha responding to Elijah, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee.
Yeah. And so it's the same kind of an idea. And it was actually, from what I was reading, it was quite common.
It's a certainty.
But what's also interesting is it's something that a Canaanite would not do. It was a very Egyptian thing to do. And so, again, he's got the clothes of an Egyptian, the speech of an Egyptian. He's using Egyptian idioms, the whole thing. So it's no wonder they didn't recognize him.
And he's speaking roughly to them.
Yeah. The word spies occurs 7 times in the chapter, if anybody cares. All right. Hereby shall ye be proved. By the life of Pharaoh ye shall not go forth hence, except your youngest brother come hither. Send one of you. Now this is interesting.
It is interesting. Send one.
And
keep 9.
And let him fetch your brother, and ye shall be kept in prison. That your words may be proved, whether there be any truth in you, or else by the life of Pharaoh, surely ye are spies, which basically means they're going to be killed. Yeah.
And remember, in the King James Bible, ye is plural. Mm-hmm. It's not singular, so he's saying, the group of you shall be kept in prison.
Exactly.
Send one, like an ambassador, and I'm going to keep the other 9 of you.
Mm-hmm. We don't know where the servants are. They may be out with the camels and asses, which is where I would think that they would be. And these guys
we don't care about them.
Yeah. Well, they're secondary, and so a lot of times the Bible doesn't really cover secondary characters. Yeah. But what's interesting is he says, send one of you, and then he takes them all and he locks them in prison. So the first day they're all
Oh,
sitting.
and he put them all together into ward 3 days.
So they're all sitting in there.
Would that be 3 days and 3 nights, you think?
I think so.
I think so.
So they're all sitting in there. First night. So which one of us is we going to send? Because do you think he forgot to send one of us?
The food here stinks.
Yeah.
Do you ever think we'd be in a prison in Egypt?
No, I haven't really thought about that.
Yeah. I wonder if he made a deal with Potiphar. You know, it's kind of like, hey,
I thought
put him in my prison.
I wondered about that because
we don't know.
We don't know if he's in the common prison. It's unlikely that he's with the officers.
This would be the spy prison.
This is the spy. This is actually worse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This is worse.
Yeah,
they're probably in chains, and it's probably not good.
Yeah, they're in ward.
Yeah.
Think about Peter in Acts, chained up between two watchmen.
Yeah. So, but I just keep thinking that first night is not going well, and you wake up.
Day number 2.
And day number 2 in prison. How you doing there, Reuben? I'm doing good. We should have never sold our brother. This is God's getting at us,
Oh boy.
Yeah.
What do you think's happening? Payback.
Yeah. This is God's pay.
This is so payback.
Yeah. So we reap what we're sowing. That's what it is. We're reaping what we're sowing.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's going to keep us in prison. If he keeps us in prison, Dad's dead.
Nobody slept the first night.
Second night
was rough.
Exhausted.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't let us out, everybody back home dies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they'll all starve to death.
Yeah.
Because they won't know what happened, and we've got all the money.
Yeah, we got all the money.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Well, we don't have all the money. We just have.
All right. So our 3 days are over. Whew. Now, one nice thing is it says, and Joseph said unto them the third day, "This do and live, for I fear God."
Which God is that?
Elohim.
Elohim.
This is this God. Whenever he talked to Potiphar's wife, and he says, "For I fear God."
Mm-hmm.
When he said to the baker and the butler, interpretations of dreams belong unto God.
I'm just saying, he didn't say, "and I fear Ra." He said, "I fear
Elohim." If he fears God, he fears God. So for them, this was actually their first indication of hope.
Yeah.
Because he was basically saying, let's keep reading. He says, "If ye be true men." Now he changes his plans.
He totally flipped it.
So he flipped it. "Let one of your brethren be bound in the house of your prison. Go ye, carry corn for the famine to your houses, but bring your youngest brother unto me. So shall your words be verified, and ye shall not die." And they did so. He literally, he could have killed them. All he had to do was refuse them corn next year. He literally could have wiped out the whole, because he knows that. He literally has the power to see the future, and he has all that power along. It's crazy.
Yeah, because he knows there's more famine coming.
Yeah, there's at least 5 years, possibly 6, depending on where we are in the story.
Yeah.
I think what happened was, originally he was caught off guard when they walked in.
Oh yeah.
He did the spy thing. He said off the cuff, "Send one of you and let the rest be put in prison."
Now he's had 3 days
and
then
3
he got
nights. Think about it, and he was like, "Yeah, they gotta get the food back to Dad, or Dad's dead." And I know what I'll do. I'll throw the silver in the bags.
Oh wait, I'll keep Simeon. Not Reuben. You see, Reuben was the one who tried to rescue him when he was in the pit. So Simeon would have been the eldest at the time.
You mean Simeon and Levi, who killed the Shechems, that had anger issues?
Yeah, they needed to learn a little bit more humility in life. We're going to help him out.
So Simeon is second born, and he's definitely gonna get some humility here.
Yeah, it's good for him.
So verse 21. Now they're before Sultan Joseph.
Yeah.
In the court, interpreters there. And it says, "And they said one to another," literally talking just like this, "We're verily guilty concerning our brother.
Yeah.
In that we saw the anguish of his soul when he besought us, and we would not hear.
Would not.
Therefore is this distress come upon us." And Reuben answered them, saying, "Spake I not unto you? Didn't I tell you? It's time for it. I told you so."
It's literally almost like this is the first time they've dared talk about it.
It really is.
Doesn't it feel that way when
feels that way.
You're like, it took all of this, and finally, after 22 years of just, that's the dark, dirty secret of the family, boom, we're all going to talk about it.
Yeah, 22 years.
Yeah.
So what's interesting, it says, we are verily guilty concerning our brother. That's why I said it's conscience. It comes out in that we saw the anguish of his soul when he besought us, and we would not hear. Therefore is this, same word, therefore is this anguish, this distress come upon us. They literally say, we're reaping what we sowed. We're getting the anguish because of the anguish. In this, when Reuben says, do not sin against, spake I not unto you, saying, do not sin against the child, and ye would not hear. Therefore, behold also, his blood is required. Which means what?
It's that's justice. That's
Genesis chapter 9.
Yeah, so that was the original command after the flood, and you've had it's kind of like the first governmental law that all governments are built on is if you kill somebody, then the government of the people by the people will kill you. It's required. You got it there yet?
I do. It says in Genesis 9, 5 and 6, and surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man. At the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of God made he man.
And that's literally whenever, when you go through Bible college and stuff, that's the verse that becomes the foundation of government.
It is.
It is.
Capital punishment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because now we've got somebody who has the sword.
Yeah.
And he's in charge. Yeah. So again, so he's reminding them of this old thought that it looks like God is requiring our blood,
because
life for life for Joseph.
Yeah. They understood that. Hmm? That's that was the common law. Even going Hammurabi and all those guys, that was the law. Was eye for eye, tooth for tooth, life for life. They understood this, and up until now they've been dodging it.
Mm-hmm. They've been dodging it. Yeah. And they knew not that Joseph understood them, for he spake unto them by an interpreter. Now, what's interesting is that the Egyptians and the Hebrews, their language was close enough at this time that they could actually understand smatterings of each other. But there's a thought. There's a guy called an Abyssinian, and sometimes they would have like a wall or a partial barrier between the Sultan and these common people. And so the word for interpreter here is actually ambassador, and so they could hear him talking to the ambassador. They're spies, you're spies, and then he would go, "You're spies." So there might be some kind of a barrier or whatever But who knows?
A true mediator.
A true mediator. And they knew not that Joseph understood them, for he spake unto them by an interpreter. It could just be they didn't understand the Egyptian. Mm-hmm. Verse 24. So he hears them talking about him, and he turned himself about from them and wept, and returned to them again. So he goes off, he cries, cleans his face up, returned to them and communed with them, and took from them Simeon.
Yeah. I'm taking that one.
Yeah. And Simeon's like, why is it always me?
Well, yeah, but I'm telling you, when he went, whenever he said Simeon, and they were like, we don't get a picture of how that happened. We don't know if there was a finger, pointing. We don't know. But all the brothers were like, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was the oldest at the time, beside Reuben.
Well, remember, later on,
we
haven't got to that part. When they sit down to eat, he sits them down, oldest to youngest.
Yeah.
And just to freak them out.
No, but I'm just saying, in the context of the conversation where blood is required, and then boom, he puts his hand on the one I would
most
accountable.
Yes.
Would have been the eldest beside Reuben.
That's exactly right. So
it
was
they're all like, oh man, it really is God.
God's coming. All right, verse 25. Then Joseph commanded on the aside, hey, servants, to fill their sacks with corn, and to restore every man's money into his sack, and to give them provision for the way.
Lunch bags.
And thus did he unto them. And they laded, meaning
The servants.
The servants, and they laded their asses with the corn and departed thence. They were expecting judgment from him, and he's just giving them mercy.
He's setting them up.
Well, that's true too. And he thought this out. He had 3 days to think. And as one of them opened his sack to give his ass provender, food, in the inn he espied his money. For behold, it was in his sack's mouth. And he said unto his brethren, My money is restored, and lo, it is even in my sack. And their heart failed them, and they were afraid, saying one to another, What is this that God hath done unto us?
The hits just keep on coming.
So remember that the word for
Wow.
money is actually the word for silver. Almost always in the Old Testament, it's translated as money, but it's pieces of silver. It's been chopped up into little pieces. We already did that. One guy said the idea of this being 10 asses and 10 men was ridiculous, because it was probably more like scores or even hundreds. It was a big caravan.
It was.
It was a big caravan. And so the words for sack, there's actually 3 Hebrew words that we're looking at here. There's this keli, which referred to a vessel. It was like a basket lined with leather and covered with leather that would carry like a large amount of the corn. And then there was sack. Yes, that's right. The Hebrew word for sack is sack. Can I hear an amen?
Woo!
Amen.
We got one right.
We all learned a Hebrew word today.
Sack is sack.
Sack is sack. And it refers to, it's actually the word burlap, like a mesh bag.
Like a big coffee bag.
Like a coffee bag, yeah, like a big coffee bag.
I got one in there.
You've got one in there. And then a amtachaf, which just it refers to flexible or expandable, and it was probably this same little one because you could stuff them. So there was a big bag. Have you ever seen the coffee commercials back in the old day with the Colombian guy, and he's got his little donkey and he loads it with a big burlap sack across the entire back of the donkey, and Pedro is like, let's go. He's got his coffee beans.
Yes.
That's what they've got.
Yeah.
And then they also have...
They punch down real small. That's why I like them. You know, and then you can just keep loading them and loading them.
Yes.
And they're sturdy.
Sturdy. It's not going to break.
It's going to have to go for 250 miles without dumping all your corn on the ground.
Yep. And then you've got smaller bags. These other sacks. So
they brought everything.
Yeah.
We got to take enough corn back to feed everybody.
Exactly right. So what happened was he opened his sack to give his ass provender in the inn. And that word there in verse 27 is the smaller one. They're not opening up the big ones. The big ones are not going to be open until they get home.
Thank you.
So they open up the little one, and
he gave them stuff for the way.
Yeah,
provision for the way.
Well, for them, he gave them bologna sandwiches, but then
Right.
they also opened up something to feed their ass with.
Yeah, they got...
And so they had to give them some supplement. Again, there's nothing is alive. There's nothing green, so they gave him some corn and stuff.
And there's the silver.
And there's the silver.
And
it says...
And their heart sank.
Well, it says their heart failed them, and it's really cool. It says this is a very strong idiom, and the literal word is, and their heart left their body.
That's about right. So the feeling that they had... This is like the second time, because whenever he said to the guards, put them in prison, they probably had a similar heart leave body moment.
Yes.
And now they get to have it all over again.
Heart, it's your bowels, it's everything. It's like you're emptying right now. We can never go back to Egypt ever again. Yes. All right. So
all I have is bad memories. Okay.
All right. When they came unto Jacob their father unto the land of Canaan, and told him all that befell unto them, saying,
"Oh boy!"
And they, of course, you got to give their report to Dad. So that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Nothing new going on here. This is all repetition.
And they told him the truth. They didn't try to hide any of it.
The man. It's interesting how many times Joseph is called the man. You know, you got to give it to the man.
Mm-hmm.
The man, who is the Lord of the land, spake roughly to us, and took us for spies of the country. And we said unto him, We're true men, we are no spies. We be 12 brethren. sons of our father. One is not, and the youngest is this day with our father in the land of Canaan. And the man, the Lord of the country, said unto us, Hereby shall I know that you're true men. Leave one of your brethren here with me, and take food for the famine of your households, and be gone. And bring your youngest brother unto me. Then shall I know that ye are no spies, but that ye are true men. So will I deliver you your brother, and ye shall traffic in the land. The word traffic is
buying and selling.
Buying and selling. It's not like highway traffic. Highway traffic actually came from the word for trafficking, which means to trade. Mm-hmm. It actually comes from the old Italian word to feel and touch, because as the traders would come in, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's really nice. That's really nice. Everybody touching everything.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
So trafficking.
And trafficking. And bring your youngest brother here, and you shall traffic in the land. You'll go, you're buying and selling here.
And you're going to have freedom to go about and do your stuff.
That's right.
Because you're going to go down for more than just corn. Because, their wives said to them, can you bring me some of that Egyptian silk? I've heard about that.
We're dying here, honey. Yes,
yeah,
but
I know.
Don't
but
go to Egypt all that time. You don't.
But as long as you're there.
Yeah.
And little Jimmy wants an alligator. Can you bring him an alligator?
Hippos.
Hippo doll.
Hippo dolls.
It can happen.
All right.
And it came
to pass, as they emptied their sacks, so they probably had a holding pen. So now they're emptying the big burlap sacks, that behold, every man's bundle of money, his wrap of silver pieces, was in his sack. The Egyptian word there is their sack. And when both they and their father saw the bundles of money, they were afraid.
Well,
absolutely terrified.
You stole from Egypt.
Yeah. And we're never going to get any more food.
Ever again.
And Jacob their father said unto them, Me have ye bereaved of my children. Joseph is not, and Simeon is not. You know what that says to me?
It's kind of weird, isn't it?
Me have ye bereaved of my children. Joseph is not.
It makes you wonder if somewhere during the grapevine he didn't find out.
And Simeon is not.
You know what I'm saying?
He just kept his tongue. Because Jacob kept his tongue with the Dinah thing too.
He knows.
He has a tendency to sit on it.
Jacob is networked. Every time we see him, he's got the inside scoop on.
Why are my boys acting so weird? Why are my boys acting so weird?
Oh, I figured it out.
Oh, never say anything.
Yeah, he could have. We don't know.
We don't know. Just speculating. And ye will take Benjamin away. All these things are against me. Now, the word bereavement is a very special word. It's this sachol, and it means to lose children, to go childless, to suffer barrenness or abortion. We don't have a word in English for it, and that's why in the English the word of my children is in italics, because it's actually part of the idiom. But it's
the word actually means bereaved of my children.
It literally means bereaved of my children.
Yeah.
Joseph is not, Simeon is not, and you'll take Benjamin away. All these things are against me, and the word against means it has the flavor, I'll say, of upon me like a heavy load. This poor man. And Reuben spake unto his father, saying, You slay my two sons, if I bring him not to thee. Deliver him into my hand, and I will bring him to thee
I gotta
again.
ask how me killing my two grandkids is supposed to make me feel better if I lose one of my sons.
The boys are whacked.
This is such a weird statement. If I don't bring your son, kill two of your grandkids instead.
That's what they do.
No, that's weird.
If you kill them, I'm gonna kill two of yours. Yeah.
I know, but
it's weird. No, I wrote down, say what?
They're his family. Kill two of the other family if this family... that makes no sense to me in an American viewpoint.
Not at all. I think he was...
he was just trying to state how forcefully and how committed he was.
He was committed.
He was committed.
He was committed.
Yeah.
And in verse 38...
Because I really don't think that Jacob would be like, okay, bring my two grandkids in here, and because Reuben failed in his mission.
Yes. And he said, We'll just have Simeon do it. And he said, my son shall not go down with you.
Meaning Benjamin.
You know what's interesting is everybody has kind of gotten used to the idea of dad's favoritism. They
watched it transfer from Joseph to Benjamin in a heartbeat.
And
I bet he even has a coat of many colors.
My son
can't prove it, but
yes, right. My son shall not. You guys can go and devil can kill all of you, but my son,
he doesn't say to Reuben, my son shall not go down, because Reuben was his son.
Yes, he doesn't say that my son shall not go down.
He does not refer to Reuben as my son. He only my son is Benjamin
or Joseph, and he's dead.
It's a very strange family. It's so favoritism, messed up family.
For my son shall not.
The patriarchs.
For his brother is dead, and he is left alone.
And he's projecting here a little bit too.
I thought about this for a long time. So you've got Jacob works for 7 years to get Rachel.
Yes.
And then another 7 years. 14 years. So it seems like a little time because he loved her.
So much.
And she's beautiful in her face. She's beautiful in her body. Joseph comes along. Oh my gosh, he looks just like his mama.
He does.
He looks just like his mama. And she dies. And then Joseph dies. And the only one left with Rachel's eyes is Benjamin.
Yeah.
If Benjamin dies, he loses Rachel forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really thinking, I can see that.
Rachel was his favorite wife. Without a doubt. Benjamin is the sole survivor of the favorite wife.
Yeah. And sometimes he looks at me and it just looks like his mama.
Yeah. That was his, in his head, that was the only family he ever intended to have.
That's right.
Was Rachel.
Yeah.
All this other stuff with Leah and Bilhah, and that's all extras.
That was all. You're right. Yeah. He never intended that.
Mm-mm.
If mischief befall him by the way in the which ye go, then shall ye bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave. This chapter ends
on a down note.
Man, chapter 37, the reason I read it first was so that we would get this idea. He says, for I will go down into the grave unto my son mourning. And that's what he said over Joseph. And now he's saying, and I'll go down into my grave over Benjamin. It'll kill me. And I think they believed him because they saw how he reacted with Joseph because he refused to be comforted.
Yeah.
So
this is a preparation chapter,
mm-hmm.
So we're going to leave you hanging. It's a cliffhanger.
So currently, Simeon is in jail.
Simeon is in. We don't actually know that. Okay, because again, it's a week journey home.
Yep.
Okay, and then it's months to eat all the food.
Yep.
So, did Joseph kind of soften up and bring him out a little?
Tune in next week. We might find out. It could be 2 weeks. We don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't remember. I think that Simeon is actually in jail.
I think he's in jail.
I would leave him in there.
I think he's in there.
Yeah.
Because I think they're all surprised later on.
I do. I think so.
Like half a year.
Yeah.
Maybe an entire year.
So what can we learn out of this and apply to our own lives? Here's my thought on it. Jacob allowed all of the bad things in his life. Bad thing happened all at the same time. It killed his faith in God. And he lives in fear and doubt, and all these things are against me.
But God was still working every step of the way.
And his sons picked up on it, because they said, what is this that God hath done unto us? In this family that is supposed to be most blessed, all they see is God is against us.
That's powerful. That is exactly right. So had you stepped in right now and, like as a narrator, stepped in the middle of the conversation and said, hey guys, just to let you know, one day all of this is going to be written down in God's book for all generations because you are so beloved. They're going to be like, God has a funny way of showing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he had to do this because he had to lay the groundwork, because it's not just about them. This is about the foundation of the patriarchs that leads into the whole birth of Jesus. Mm-hmm. I mean, all of this is, it's not about them when you really pull back a long way. This is all about Jesus.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
All of it.
All right, let's pray.
Lord God, thank you for loving us. And even when things don't appear to have your goodness directed toward us, Lord, help us to know that in your providence and in your divine guidance, it's all for good. We may not understand it now, but we will later on. Help us, God, to walk in that. Help us to be brave and to make the decisions that we need to make as we need to make them. And help us, Lord, to live lives that don't have regret, to do the right thing. In Jesus' name, amen.
And to love our children equally. Amen.
Not play favorites.